I actually got involved in acting when I was a teenager. I was a model. I was that all-American girl, teen for Kodak, teen magazine, and that kind of led into industrial films for teens, which led into acting, which I got tired of. And then I went into nursing, and that didn't work when you're tap dancing on bedpans. So I went back to acting and just have been doing it ever since. I've taken a lot of side paths. I actually own a production company because hire yourself, it's easier. But the last few years, I'm a pretty well-known psychic medium, and that has overshadowed everything. And I do TV in a whole different way now, kind of as me.
Didn't he just say that we shouldn't take Junction 59?
Just relax, Melissa.
I believe what led me to being cast in Dark Harvest was I was doing a murder mystery kind of show at the time with some actors, and somebody knew somebody casting this film that they do, and I knew that this person kind of was involved with some shadier films. I'm like, well, I don't know, I can go audition. But the guy was really nice, the director was really nice, and I saw the script. I'm like, okay, this could be fun. And it really was, it was great. When I auditioned, it was directly for James Nicholson, the director. He was like a catalyst to really want to do this film. I, at the time, was doing a lot of small parts in episodic TV and a lot of Universal shows, and I'm like, well, do I want to do this little low-budget film where I actually have to take my top off? I don't know. What will my mom say? I mean, it's so funny because it's so tame by modern things. But again, it was Jim that made me go, yeah, this is a fun thing. I can do this. I remember we were in the desert far, far away. I don't remember how many days it took, but we stayed at a house in Victorville, out in the desert where we were shooting. Hopefully they got legally, but I think it was a foreclosed house, no furniture. We had blankets and sleeping bags, and it was like camping. So actually that's good, because that brings us together as we're supposed to be good friends. It just kind of created the camaraderie when four women have to get ready and do their film makeup in one little bathroom. It's like, okay, we get to know each other really fast.
Let me guess. We're stuck and Camper Joe here can't do anything to get us out of here, right?
That's how small. We all did our own makeup. Somebody was brought in for like special effects makeup, the horror makeup, but most of it we did ourselves. And I think we even maybe lost one of those along the way and just did the best we could. I remember using a lot of Jell-O. As we went, we're shooting the script. It was a real script. We rehearsed it and everything. But then we got to this abandoned house they had seen from the road. And we're going to shoot there. It was total kamikaze shooting. So we get to this old abandoned house in the middle of the desert, and there is a half-eaten, morbid, real, dead dog with maggots all over it. And I have never seen James so excited. He's like, oh, God, we have to use this. We have to write this into this thing. He's like, really? It smells really bad. So, yeah, that was not in the script at all. That was just there, and it was like a gift from the heavens, I guess.
Ow, you're hurting my back.
I'm not even touching your back.
Then what's the...
I got it on VHS. I think it was fun. I remember really going, oh yeah, this is exactly what it is. It's a low-budget horror film. How fun. I think me being me, I got a little critical. It's like, what am I doing there? I remember James even did that. I remember we did have some kind of a screening together. I don't know if we were someplace great. There's this one really bad scene with me. And I remember my reaction was like, that was exactly it. And I remember James pointing that out. Maybe that was even in early cuts or something, and Preeti goes, what do you think of that scene, Patti? I'm like, oh, you maybe overacted a little bit. Yeah. But again, it was fun. It became like a whole family thing. I mean, I would have been horrified. It would have been, some famous other director doing this, but we really became a family. I just had this total crush on him. It was great. I don't think I've done a lot of horror. I've done some funny stuff, though. I remember there was one horror film that I came in to do ADR on. And I remember because it was Gene Simmons, and I got to work with Gene Simmons. And I thought that was pretty cool. There was some girl getting stabbed by him with a razor blade fingernail, like stuck up to a cross. And I had to redo her whole voice for whatever reason, and her screams and her cries and her gurgling to death. So I had to gurgle to death to match up a mouth in ADR. And I was like, okay, well, we'll do it choking. She had to choke to death on her own blood within her own throat. So I really did choke myself to death, practically, drinking water, watching the screen in ADR. So that was like one of my funnest horror film things, and I'm not even on camera. But it's funny now that most of my work is as my psychic medium self, and since one of my specialties is really being able to bring in spirits and ghosts and have people experience it, and seances and things, I've brought that horror film into real life. It's my real life. I've had literally a real person burst into flames with 4 cameras watching. I was at Marilyn Manson's house doing a seance. It was a great house, the Mary Astor house, who was an old silent film star, and she had wild parties, I guess, and the Rolling Stones lived there, the Mamas and the Papas, Graham Parsons, the person who invented the blow-up real-life sex doll, and then most recently Marilyn Manson, and he recorded there. The house is dark, and it calls in creative, chaotic, dark people. So we were doing this seance, and I said, you believe or don't believe, but you got to be respectful because this is real. I'm lifting the veil. This is real. And there were some really cranky spirits there. So this one kid, maybe because he was on TV, he was getting a little smart alecky. So first thing, cool things were happening, like French doors flying open at really good moments, and then the producer side's going, wow, that's like special effects, but it isn't. And then the speakers came on, like white noise, and they weren't plugged in, we looked later. But then he said something just really idiotic, and I was getting some heavy-duty information about this house and some sex slave stuff that was done in the 20s and all this stuff, and he said something really stupid, and all of a sudden my cameraman, who was pointing at him like this, burst into flames. This beautiful man, Laurent Malachi, just burst into flames, like angel wings of fire, up his back. All of a sudden, cool psychic medium Patti becomes medic Patti, of which I am, those years I left acting. I'm drop it all, and this is done, and I'm calling in my guardians and my spirits and my this. Slows it down, but his shirt burnt off him like it was polyester or something, and it was cotton. It should not have went like that. But he was so intrigued, he's like, oh, no, continue. I have a sweater. I'm okay. And there was some blistering there. I'm like, oh, God. And the kid got really well behaved, though. Really well behaved. I calmed the spirits down. We finished. We got some good information. But I saw the blistering, and I told him, I go, you've got to go to the doctor. You've got to get that taken care of. He actually showed me 3 weeks later that where those blistering was, it had literally turned into what looks like a tattoo or a tramp stamp of a dragon. It has the teeth, the mouth open, the winged things into the shape of a serpent. And I work dragon energy, so it's like that came in as his protection. I've done a couple different shows, including Ghost Adventures and one other one at the Black Dahlia murder houses, and that's the horror film of all century. This guy really was a torturous serial killer. He mangled these women. I talked to them, and I've been thrown up against the wall. I've been, so it's my life. I've just studied my whole life, been a psychic my whole life, but I used to keep it really separate because of my production company being very corporate, working with banks and big industry. It's like, I don't want them to think that I'm some weird person who talks to dead people and, tells the future. So I kept it separate until about 8 years ago, or whenever that last big economic crash and corporate entertainment became a dirty word, and reality was getting bigger and bigger, and I started doing that because I was needed for seances, I was needed on all these shows or asked for. I remember my first corporate client who called me up and said, I saw you on TV last night, and I'm like, oh God, I will never work for IBM again, or whoever they were. And she goes, I didn't know you were into the paranormal. I am too. And it became this 20-minute conversation, best conversation ever. So, because I do a lot of Bible Belt stuff, and it can be pretty scary, but to my knowledge, it has not hurt. Now, I'm out of the broom closet, so to speak, out of the psychic closet. And again, what my mostly production work going into that have completely reversed. Now it's almost all my psychic medium work and my private clients, and I speak and teach and do all that. And I love it because I'm actually, even though I get to live in a scary, fun horror film world, I'm actually doing good stuff. I'm about empowering people, so I get the best of all worlds. It all sort of meshes together. I remember being hot, and I remember being cold because it's the desert, and I remember being crowded in this little house, and I remember having the best time imaginable. I think a new audience will enjoy the kitsch of it. I hope they'll get the kitsch of it, and I think they will.
And who did it?
Yeah.
And again, hopefully that camaraderie will show up. We worked so hard with so little, as is the case, and it was fun. So I hope that they get all that, and then just have fun with it. It's a fun film. Killer scarecrows. Have fun, turn the lights off, and sleep well. Ah.